Happy to have you here today. And hey, it's Good Friday, and it's been a good Friday for me. And I welcome you all to this time of reflection, this time of devotion, this time of prayer, and this time where we dissolve the fear. And as many of you know, we went through the prayer of St. Francis really for the last 3 weeks. It's been kind of it's an amazing kind of journey. I'm speaking for myself, of course. I thought it was an amazing journey to go through the St. Francis prayer step by step by step, and to just historically recognize that in the 13th century he was writing at a time that well, the world was in crisis. I mean, the world was absolutely in crisis because the First Crusade was taking place, and he was trying to be an advocate of merging the ideas and the theological concepts between Christianity and Islam. And as many of you might know, that's a tall order, but it's one that he did really well. And out of that popped his prayer, which people have been using now for centuries, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Tonight, I want to get into a different kind of approach. I'm going to take a word actually that comes out of Hinduism and Buddhism, but you'll find that that's very applicable, and it's called Samadhi. Samadhi. And Samadhi, I'm going to read a definition for you. Samadhi is the sacred remembrance of our essential self, which is to be at one with God. To be at one with God. Now, think about that. We've got a term in my theological circles called atonement, which is also a word that means to be at one with God. But I want to let us know that this word, while it's has an Eastern translation in religious circles, also has a Western connotation. And when even St. Augustine used this word because he recognized that it was an opportunity in his Christian mind to think of how we need to contemplate our lives and our meaning, how we need to recollect, how we need to concentrate on things outside of ourselves, how we need to, if you will, meditate, and how we need to shut down the busyness of our minds. I'm laughing because it seems like a really tall order to shut down our minds. But if you've tuned in to what I'm doing 3 weeks, we have been shutting down our minds because it's really an act of love for ourselves to do that, to find time during our day to shut it down. Now, let's get into some reality check here. Some people think that that's impossible. Can't possibly shut down my mind. Well, here's some hints. Turn off the TV, stop reading the news, and stop freaking out. Yes, it's the pandemic is real. We know that people are dying. I know that. And I'm not smiling or laughing at that reality because it hurts, and many of us have been impacted by that already in our lives. But on this relatively sacred day of Good Friday, let's think of ways in which we can enrich our lives and find some joy and find some peace and find some calm. Because, what's the alternative? The alternative is to worry. The alternative is to sit and saturate in a pool of fear, which in my world means false evidence appearing real. Okay? And because fear is really the opposite of love in my world. Fear is basically letting in all of that stuff that wants to block us up and to make us hide and run and scurry and avoid and get resentful and angry and bitter and disappointed. All right? And it's also a very selfish thing, fear. You have to think about it, because it basically says that everything that we encounter is under our control, even our emotions. And to an extent, that's true. But we have to also recognize the alternative. The alternative to fear is to let go, to let go, to let go, and let go of the mind in all of its incremental ways to screw us up. So I want to read a little bit here too about Samadhi. Samadhi is really kind of a cool word. And this is a guy named Panache Desai. He wrote a book called "You're Good Enough," which is an awesome book. And he basically says, "Look, man, we're in an enlightened time. You know, you don't have to be a monk, you don't have to be a master, you don't have to be a guru to let go of your mind. In fact, the more we try to replicate somebody else's journey, the more we're going to screw it up. We just have to recognize that we are good enough in this world, and we are good enough in our lives, and we can find the ability to let go of all of those things we're trying to control right now. We're trying to control money. We're trying to control time. We're trying to control business. We're trying to control our children. We're trying to control our lives. We're trying to control traffic. We're trying to control the media. We're trying to control the president. We're trying to control what's happening in the world. We are trying so darn hard to try to control ourselves. What if we just let go? What if we practice Samadhi? What if we took a moment to just step back, and to shut the busyness of our minds? Samadhi, Samadhi, Samadhi. Now, the equivalent of, like I said, in the Western world is atonement, but that even sounds a little too intellectual. What I would rather us do is recognize that if we take moments, and we don't have to do it like a dozen times a day or even 5 times a day like the Muslims do. They don't even have to do it 3 times a day. And you can do it while you're doing the dishes. You can do it while you're playing with your kids. You can do it while you're drinking a glass of wine. You can do this when you're doing a crossword puzzle. Really what it means is to focus not on yourself, but to focus on the God of your life, whatever that may manifest itself into, whether it's a Christian God, a Jewish God, a Muslim God, a Hindu God, a Buddhist God, an earth God, whatever works for you to get you out of your own squirrely brain or your monkey mind. That is the thing that we need to do. All right. So for those of you who've been sort of tapping in and chiming in the last many weeks, what we do here after we've gone through this, little intellectual commercial, is we step back and it's a theological commercial too, so it's not all half bad. But what we want to do is sort of step back and ground ourselves, because what we're going to do is go into a meditative devotional time. And I'm going to lead you through a time where you can just kind of sit back and collect, as Samadhi asks us to. So get into a posture where you're sitting comfortably. Hopefully you're not in the yard doing chores and picking up sticks, and it's been a windy day, so I know there's sticks all out there, or in your garage, or cleaning the lawnmower that you're going to be using next week. But just kind of sit back and actually meditate for a second. We want to get into a meditative spirit, so just sit out wherever that may be, and if it's possible, tune out the world, close your eyes, try to get quiet, and have your feet on the ground, because energetically we really want to be able to go from what's called the crown chakra up here, and let the energy flow through us all the way down through our being, down into our feet, into the ground, because that grounds us. So I used an image last night that actually helped some people. So in my generation, back in the 70s, when there was Star Wars was coming out, there was this poster of Luke Skywalker on like the top of some hill with his lightsaber shining up into the heavens, and Leia was like at his feet, and he was all buff and muscular and stuff like that. But the image that captured me was this light that goes up into the heavens and comes down. So consider that as your contact with a heavenly source that is asking you to channel. Just channel God's love right now. And recognize that in that channeling, you are not alone. You're not alone. We are not alone. And we can dissolve the fear in our lives really in a moment. by recognizing that we have such an opportunity to just sit back and let God flow through us, okay, which is Samadhi. Samadhi means to let go. Samadhi means to really recognize the essence of God in your life. The essence, the essence. So sit back, relax, and breathe. And I'm going to ask you that you breathe. Breathe in grace. Breathe out concern. Breathe in spirit. Breathe out control. Breathe in love. Breathe out fear. Breathe in God. Breathe out the fear. Because fear is real, I understand that, but fear is also generated by our monkey mind. Right now, we're safe. Right now, we're in a place where we are concentrating, recollecting, gathering an essence of God in our lives. We have nothing to worry about. So breathe and feel the image of being surrounded by love. Now, lots of us, have lots of different versions of love, but this love that I'm asking you to be aware of is a focal point. It's like being in a bubble where nothing can really affect you. We were all born into love. We were born from love. We were given an opportunity to breathe life into the divine human beings that we are. So maybe going inward and getting rid of the mind reminds us that we are love. Now, I can only speak for myself, but when I'm in that place where I am a loving human being, I am way more receptive to what's happening around me. I am way more conscious that I can be a contributing asset to God's world rather than chicken with his head cut off running around being scared all the time. And I fully believe that when we put on the armor of faith, when we put on the armor of spirit, when we put on the armor of gratitude and love and acceptance and appreciation and courage, we can dispel and we can prevent many of the horrible things that happen in this world. So breathe in courage. Breathe in faith. Breathe in appreciation, gratitude, and love. And breathe out resentment. Breathe out worry. Breathe out concern. Breathe out the mind. Breathe out anger. Breathe out anything that is preventing you from fully accepting that you are where you are in this world right now, and that this is exactly where you need to be. And where we are right now is in this wonderful place where we get to focus on what our values really are. Help us Help us, O God, to feel your presence around us. That weight that is taken off of our shoulders. To know that we are human beings, so capable of great things, but also so capable of mediocrity. So capable of wrapping our time and our lives and our efforts around things that just don't make a lot of sense and are not lasting. Help us in this relative time out in humanity to be conduits of grace, to be facilitators of faith, to be companions of love, and to be Samadhi, be in fellowship, be that essential aspect of God in our lives, where we have the capacity to impact the world around us. Positive, fruitful, strong, courageous, valuable, meaningful, powerful ways. Oh God, help us. Help us to see this time as a rebirth. Help us to see this time as an incubation period. We really kind of decide what's valuable, what's important, what is truly meaningful. Is it our work? Is it our legacy? Or is it maybe reaching out to our children in a loving way, supporting them, holding our partners, caring for our parents and grandparents, telling a friend that we've really appreciated them over the years and thank God for their presence in our lives. Really working a recovery program if that's in our lives, because that's helping us get closer to the Spirit and helping us to get cold. Maybe it's putting off the drugs and the alcohol and finally recognizing that the only reason we do that is because we are afraid. We are afraid of honesty. We are afraid of truth. Help us, oh God, to be people of faith, people of love, people that dispels all that fear, dissolves it in light of the fact of what you give us in return. And what I like to do in this devotional time is to also recognize that there are forces that don't want us to be this mindless. I banish them. I name them. I name them as distractions. I name them as phone calls. I name them as texts. I name them as the doubt that we feel in a moment like this sometimes. There are doubts. We have them. We get scared. We don't think this faith stuff is real. I banish those. I ask them to go away. In God's name, I ask them to disappear from your lives so that you might focus and that you might have a clear path to recognizing the divinity within us and to find that essential relationship with God. Find Him now, or find her now, or find it now. Because it really doesn't matter whether you're a Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist. I mean, those are the 5 that I kind of deal with. It doesn't matter what system you follow, as long as you essentially line up with God. and know that you're not alone. You're safe. You're where you need to be. And there's such a chance to find joy in your life, even amidst times like this. Wear God like a loose garment in your life and feel that protection. This is what I do, and I can't tell you what to do. But I have found that when I wear God like a loose garment in my life, I worry a lot less, and I'm a lot easier to be around. So let's take that moment and that feeling and say a little prayer. God, thank you for this Good Friday, for my Christian friends who are now sort of in mourning theologically that Jesus has left this world, but are about ready to celebrate, for the Easter sunrise and his being risen, I believe did take place. And the Messiah came and showed us all of Christendom and all of the world, that God is alive and well in us. But that's the message. It's not just in Jesus. God is alive in all of us. Someday, God is alive, asking us to be essential and to be relevant in our faith. That gives me joy, that gives me hope, that gives me pleasure, that gives me a certain attitude and a certain certitude. And I feel God channeling through me in order to say that. So feel him tonight. Let him marinate in your muscles and your bones and your skin. And breathe God in. And breathe your resentments and your doubts and your fears out. Thank you, Lord. And have a great evening, everybody. Be well.